All right, everybody, welcome back to In the Huddle with Hayden. I'm Sania Blue, filling in for the lovely Hayden Chambliss today. So, though we're missing Hayden in the huddle, we still have Kevin Threat and we have SK Patrick here to join us. We'd also would love for everybody to interact in those comments, and we'll make sure we're following up with those throughout the show. But you guys, let's review some last week's actions. What were some shockers, if any? What were some shockers you had with the college matchups last week?
My shocker was LSU Auburn. I didn't expect that lopsided game. Like, it was abysmal. It's not good at all.
Yeah, definitely. Last week I said I don't know if I could trust Bo Nix another week, and clearly, when I have trust issues, that's when he decides to come through. So I lost that one big. SK, what about you?
I wouldn't say a shocker, but Texas upset was a big blow for the Big 12, who always seems like they're on the outside, trying to get into the club. If Okie State wins out, it's still going to be hard for them to crack the playoffs with the quality teams in front of them. So with Oklahoma, Texas having subpar seasons, I kind of feel like I'm more kind of shocked that the Big 12 is already, it seems like, out of playoff contention, and we still got 4 or 5 games left to go.
Yeah, definitely. So, with that being said, that's actually a perfect segue to my next question, which is, so far, do we think it's too early to call who could walk away with it all this year, or are there some picks?
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, Clemson and Alabama, I know it's like a broken record, but year in and year out, these two teams, seem to usually sit at the top of the mountain. Ohio State had a big win against Penn State, but, we need to see a little bit more now that the Big Ten just started play. But the Tigers and the Tide have had more time to, show what they got. And, I mean, we're going to get into it a little bit today. If the Tigers can pull out a big win, I feel like they're on their way once again.
Okay. Kevin, what you thinking?
I think I'm agreeing with SK. I think the Clemson and Alabama, the richer get richer. But I'm thinking Ohio State is going to sneak in the party. I think they're actually going to get over the hump this year. I mean, it's always with them when they get there. It's the semifinal game, and they just can't produce.
Yeah, Tevin, I might have to go with you in terms of that being like my underground team, not underground in the sense of their how they establish themselves, but Clemson and Bama, of course, are going to be up there. I think that Ohio State, if they do what they need to do, continue to be on their A game as they have been so far, so shortly as we've seen in the season, they can be a contender too. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into these games for the week. And we actually had a bit of a hard time kind of choosing which matchups we want to spotlight. So we're going to cover 3. The first one, though, is the noon Pac-12 conference opener. That's Arizona State as the University of Southern California. Now, the Pac-12 has already canceled the Utah-Arizona game due to the rise of COVID-19 cases, leaving only 4 games to open this weekend. So the virus could pose a problem to this conference season that already has a late start. But this ASU-USC matchup is a bit of a precursor to who could take the Pac-12 South Division. ASU lost 2 of its greatest offensive weapons to the NFL, and you got running back Eno Benjamin and wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. And so, however, the Sun Devils do have a future with their sophomore quarterback, Jaden Daniels. In his freshman season, Daniels posed as a dual threat, racking up 17 touchdowns, nearly 3,000 passing yards, 61% completion, and collecting his very own 355 rushing yards plus 3 touchdowns. But I think the biggest question for Daniels today will be who gets the ball after it leaves his hands. In addition to the new offensive coordinator that they have in Zach Hill, Daniels will now have to rely on the potential of senior wide receiver Frank Darby and some grad transfers. But guys, what are your guys' thoughts on Jaden's strength to carry this team with the offensive chemistry possibly either being a little off or not there? Oh, SK, I think you're muted.
I was muted. But this is a 9 a.m. kickoff on the West Coast, so that's something that we got to remember, see how the guys, out there can adjust their bodies to such an early kickoff. But outside of that, I mean, for Jaden Daniels, I think he'll just be fine. He showed flashes of superstar potential, at least within the college ranks last year. And the Pac-12 teams have more time to practice than a lot of other conferences coming into this year. The first quarter might look a little rough, but Daniels will play, well in new offensive coordinator Zach's offense. And Daniels had a solid freshman year, like I said, and I just see him building on that. I feel like he has the arm, he has the legs, and he has the playmaking ability really to play in any offense. So I feel like he's just going to elevate himself this year. I mean, we get a small sample size, unfortunately, due to COVID, but I still feel like 6, 7, 8 games, however many games he'll play, he'll do great within this offense. But against USC, I don't know about this today, but I still feel like overall, he'll be just fine this year.
Tevin, what about you?
I think he's going to do actually pretty good job today against USC, but I think he's going to have some little help with his weapons of receiver and running back, and hopefully the offensive line can block for him and things like that. I think in the first quarter, second quarter, he's going to have a little growing pace because they haven't played anybody. They haven't had any contact besides their own defense and stuff like that, and I just think they're going to be fine. ASU, like you said, they are bringing in a new offense, a new philosophy, and things like that. It's going to have its growing pains and things like that, but it's going to get rolling.
Yeah, I definitely would say that I see Daniels having a good game, having a promising game. But it may take a little bit for them to adjust. And like I said, this is a 9 a.m. kickoff on the Pacific time. So it's going to take some time for them to probably get their feet wet and get used to playing again. But now to the Trojans offense, sophomore also leads the team. They have QB Keaton Slavis. And Slavis is no novice, though, to this position after winning Pac-12's Freshman Offensive Player of the Year. Including Slavis, the Trojans also have 4 offensive players on the conference preseason on the Pac-12's preseason all-conference first team. So among those is the list. Among that list is wide receiver. You have Tyler Vaughn, who has 189 career receptions for over 2,300 yards and 17 touchdowns. Vaughn is also dangerous on special teams with 27 punt returns and 254 yards and a touchdown. So he's going to be a viable option for Slavis. In addition to the other wide receiver that the Trojans have, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is ranked 19th in the USC's career reception list. So, SK, Tevin, now for this one. What do you guys think ASU's defense needs to do to combat Slavis's target options and overall offensive strength? And then lastly, of course, who comes out victorious in this?
You can go, SK. You can go.
Well, I mean, I think Arizona has a fair amount of talent and depth on defense, but I mean, it got some new scheme that they're changing under Marvin Lewis. They're going from a 3-3-5 to a more of a pro style 4-3, which I actually think will help because it provides an extra pass rusher to get to the quarterback instead of that 3-3-5 where you're more so playing that passing game, but it still can have holes if you can't get pressure on the quarterback. I still feel like they have the pieces at each level. The players to watch on that side of the ball is going to be Jermaine Lowell, defensive tackle, linebackers, Darian Butler, and then the defensive backs is really going to have to hold up with those wide receivers that you mentioned, especially Jack Jones. So I feel like maybe the lack of time to install the new defense kind of may rear its ugly head, but throughout the game. But I still feel it's still kind of an even playing field with everybody in their practice time, and also ASU putting in that new scheme too. I feel like it's going to be rough kind of on both sides of the ball, but they're going to eventually get to it, and still going to be some rough patches throughout the game, but. At the end of the day, I'm still going with USC. It's just too much turnover with ASU for me to really feel confident in them today.
Got you, Tevin.
With ASU, like you said, they bringing in a new scheme of defense, which I think they should have stayed with the 3-3-5 because it is a passing league now. It's passing happy. And I think you have your 5 DBs back there in the back end, and I think it can certainly be um, good for your defense because that's all teams are doing is spreading the ball up. But at the same time, like he said, it's changed into a 4-3. You get more pass rush and things like that. You can kind of dial up more blitzes and stuff like that. But as far as ASU, I think they have more depth this year and things like that, so they can do a lot of different things. And I think their defense is gonna kind of have its holes a little bit. It's things
Yeah.
like that. But as far as USC and ASU goes, I think I'm gonna go with the Trojans. I want to pick ASU because they had a good season last year. I like what they did last year, but I'm gonna have to go with the Trojans.
Let me ask you a question, Tevin, real quick. Do you like
Uh,
that 3-3? Let me ask you a question real quick. Do you like that 3-3-5 defense just in the Pac-12, or do you kind of like it overall in general?
I
Hmm.
like it overall in general because when you look at it, yes, you have your three linemen and your three linebackers, but you can with your back end, you can mix coverages. You can have your safety coming down in the box a little bit as your rover. You can move him in the safety position. Like you can move all the parts to where you can disguise coverages.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
stuff
Okay.
like that. How you feel about
Okay. Let's talk about defense then. Okay.
I mean, you can bring that safety because actually, you kind of make a good point because you can just bring, you said, bring that safety down, and that actually adds more speed, maybe off of a safety blitz. So I
Mhm.
can see that 3-3-5 working as well. Maybe I'm just stuck in my old ways of the traditional 4-3 or 3-4, but yeah, bringing down that safety definitely can help, especially against an offense like this. You might actually need some more speed down there if the running back can attacks the edge.
I think, and another thing, like with the 3-3-5, you can put your more athletic players in that defense. Like you can have so many athletes out there, and you can just go from there. That's how I feel about it, but I don't know how other people feel.
Yeah, we're
All
gonna
right.
see. We're gonna see today.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, I originally said the Trojans, and this is a split-second decision that I'm about to make. But I'm gonna give it to ASU. Now we had a rough week of game calls last week. We'll get into that in rapid fire, but I'm gonna give this one to ASU and make a split second change. Be the oddball out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this next game. Now it's an anticipated SEC matchup, no doubt. We have we have number 8 Florida heading to take on number 4 Georgia in Athens at 3:30 today. Now the Gators are still dealing with some adversity as they battle COVID-19 threats, in addition to that $25,000 fine that Coach Dan Mullen received, and the suspension of 5 players last week against the brawl with my Missouri Tigers. But also, Georgia battles with some injuries, including defensive leader safety Rashad LeCount, who suffered multiple injuries in a motorcycle accident. But fortunately, he's out of the hospital and receiving treatment, so that is very good for him. But this matchup is a true battle of Gator offense and Georgia defense. But really quick, I have to pause because Fidel is already on his West Coast support. So talking about some show Fresno State some love, show USC some love. I know he said he's going for the Trojans. That's fine. Again, I'll be the oddball out. But back to this SEC matchup. So that star defensive leader, that safety, he led the Dogs in 176 tackles, 8 interceptions, and 4 forced fumbles throughout his career. And now Georgia has to fill that void in the secondary against Florida's QB, Kyle Trask, who has 68% completion rate for over 1,300 yards. Now Georgia has Stetson Bennett, who could be a solid performer today for Georgia if running back Zamir White has a stellar game in the run for this performance. But also you have linebacker Nakobe Dean. He needs to be huge at the line against the Gators offense to give Bennett more chances to make successful plays. So guys, when it comes down to Georgia's defense and Florida's offense, I would love to hear your thoughts about who you think has the upper hand in this battle. Tevin.
I think some's telling me I think this is the year that Dan Mullen and his offense is going to give it to Georgia. And now he has the depth on both sides of the ball that's going to give Georgia fits a little bit, even though Georgia always have a good defense. But I think this is the year Dan Mullen gets over that hump. He's finally going to beat Georgia. And what I mean by that is, it's like a few years back when he first got there, I was like, I used to pick Florida because I was like, man, Florida can actually play with these guys. But I know depth was a concerning factor for Florida when he got there. But I think with Dan Mullen is going. I can go back to last week because I think his players are a little bit fired up because of what happened last week in the Missouri game. I think it's a sense of urgency now that they're trying to play to. They're playing for the coach, and what I mean by that is like he's passionate. And what happened last week with the little brawl and things like that, I think they're gonna come out with a sense of urgency this week. They're playing Georgia, the hated rivalry and things like that. I think with Kyle Trask, he's gonna take over the game, and I think he's gonna have a great game as well. I think they have a little bit advantage because so many injuries on Georgia's defense, and this is gonna be the year that Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators get over that hump.
Okay, I don't know. SK was over there shaking his head when we first started talking. So let's see. SK, what do you think?
I mean, I just believe in Georgia's defense. I mean, even though Georgia as a whole is being inconsistent overall, I just feel like there's the defensive front, the defensive front and ability to generate a pressure will be crucial. Even if the Bulldogs don't get sacks, they get pressures, they get knockdowns, and they just create havoc in the backfield for opposing offenses. I feel like Smart's defense is allowing just 4 yards per carry, leads the SEC and fewest allowed, and he ranks first in sacks generated. Like I said, a lot of those came in maybe 1 or 2 games, but they still can get pressure. And I feel like that front line is going to be tasked to create disruption. And I mean, Dan Mullen's offense isn't known to be explosive; it's known to be productive, but not explosive. So I feel like if they can just box them in, handle the run, and just make sure that nothing goes deep, I feel like Georgia can contain them. And I'm liking Georgia's defense over Florida's offense, especially being that it's in between the hedges and the Bulldogs' home field.
I mean, yeah, I would. Though I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
How you feel about the quarterback this week, Bennett for Georgia? How do you think Georgia is going to play it out this week?
I feel like it's going to have to be more about the running game. Jameer, as Blue brought us into the question, it's going to be more about White having a stellar game. Just something about Georgia this year that just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know if it's just that quarterback. I just don't feel like they can make huge plays like they usually can. I feel like it's more, defense and running game this year over the quality quarterback play. So Bennett, I mean, as long as he don't take a lot of chances downfield, to put the ball in harm's way, I feel like Georgia has a great opportunity. But also just to piggyback off you, Dan Mullen this year, it seems like Florida's really rolling. Like I said, they're productive. They're not necessarily explosive, but you don't have to be explosive if you can handle the ball, intermediate routes, flat routes to your running back, screens, things of that nature. You can build upon that and just have the ball move down the field at a consistent pace instead of having a 30-yard play. You got 3 10-yard plays, which will give you them same 30 yards. So as long as Bennett, I feel like, doesn't try to do too much, Georgia is going to win. But I could see, that Florida offense kind of moving the ball down the field and still having their way, especially at the front side, because Georgia does have a few injuries that you brought up. So that offensive line of Florida may have the advantage actually today.
Yeah, I think that Georgia's defense, no doubt, no matter what talent is on there, Georgia's defense is always going to be top tier in terms of this type of matchup. But I will say, even though I didn't like the outcome of last week's game against Missouri, that offense though was not only, they were productive, but they were also efficient. And so I think that they have a little bit of that fire, that spunk that could be a real threat to not necessarily Georgia's defense, but Georgia's offense if Stetson Bennett can't put up points. So I think that's going to be something for sure to watch. Now, with all that being said, who are you guys taking to take the game today?
Like I said, Georgia seems a little off, and while they're still a good solid team, it's just something about just their inconsistency play at times. But I think they're going to play well, calm the nerves since they'll be at home. It's going to be a tight one, but I'm going 24-20 on the back of Jamir right in the running game.
Tevin, what about you?
I'm going with Florida. Watch out for Kadarius Toney. It seems like he's been at Florida for forever, but watch out for him. I think him and Pitt's gonna have a big game today.
Okay. I'm also going to go with Florida for today. So congratulations, SK. You are the unique one.
I'm on my island. I got everything I need here. I'm okay. Palm trees and beautiful weather. I'm okay.
So, well, we'll see how well trees and beautiful weather hold up in November. But all right, at last for the game that we're going to get into today at 7:30, we have number 1 Clemson at number 4 Notre Dame. Now, this has been a hot game for many, even at the beginning of the season, but I think that it's even more intriguing since Clemson lost QB Trevor Lawrence after testing positive last week, and so he can't play again this week. Still dealing with those complications, wishing him well. But Clemson had to pass the torch to the backup freshman quarterback, DJ Awung. I practiced this. Awujiangale.
And name right there.
That is a name right there. He actually goes by Big Cinco, so we can call him that too. But even with the lack of preparedness, he did lead Clemson to that 34-28 victory over Boston College with 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. He even had 24 or 25 rushing yards for his own touchdown. And so he ran this game with the help of his running back. You got Travis Etienne, and then he also racked up 84 yards, rushing yards, 104 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns against Boston College. So now that Big Cinco has some reps, and he has some help with his running back and also wide receiver Amari Rodgers. How will Clemson's offense assert itself today? And maybe do you guys think we'll see something different, something new we haven't seen from Clemson just yet? What are your thoughts? Oh, Tevin, I think if you're talking, you're muted.
I think with Clemson, I got a big head of myself last week. I said they're gonna blow out Boston College and things like that. But I think this week it's gonna be all about Travis Etienne, and I think they're also gonna open up the offense a little bit more because DJ he's a player, but I think they're going to spread the ball around, but they're going to ride Etienne all night. And Notre Dame, I still go back to them and when they made the football playoff years ago and how they just can't get over that hump to compete with the big schools they need to compete to. They can win the games they win, but at the same time, when it comes to a Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia, they can't find the way to actually compete and actually be a competitive team to let everybody know in the world, hey, we're here too. Just because we're playing an independent schedule, hey, we're here too. We can actually compete with you guys this year. And with Clemson, I think they're just going to have too much talent, too much speed with them. I think Clemson all the way.
Travis Etienne. Then it's some more Travis, and then a little bit more Travis. I feel like it's going to be on the back of Travis today, as Tevin said. I mean, while DJ did settle down to have a more command of the offense, definitely in that second half for the comeback, I feel like playing in South Bend is just a different beast. Now, if Trevor Lawrence was here, I would be all the way in with Clemson. As Tevin brought up, they can't really beat the big teams, but I just feel like in your second game, you're possibly playing in one of the definitely the biggest game in the ACC of the year, and possibly one of the biggest games, just overall for the season. So I feel like I'm going to rely on getting that ball out of his hand quick. I don't want to have to him, in the pocket back there for 4 seconds trying to read through progressions, making decisions that possibly he shouldn't be making. I'm saying that's going to be a lot of screen plays, getting EN10 to their edge, getting him out in the flat, RPO plays, edge runs, just anything just to kind of get that ball out of DJ's hands, just to limit. Not that he doesn't have the talent and the football IQ. I just feel like, as a freshman quarterback, you can really kind of get hyped up and jittered and kind of float that ball over and make some mistakes that you wouldn't usually make. So I feel like the offensive line needs to bring everything they got today against that Notre Dame defense, who's one of the best run defenses in the country. But I still got my hopes high that Travis can lead the way. Put it on his back last week for the comeback, and I feel like it's going to be a whole lot of Travis on the menu today.
And I think Clemson also too. Last week, Big Cinco had to turn around quick. He did not have that full, when I said lack of preparedness earlier, he didn't know that he was going to be starting until maybe a day or two beforehand. So essentially that's not a lot of time to prepare. Naturally, you're still doing your reps in practice and things like that, but you don't really expect Trevor Lawrence to not be at the helm leading this team. But now he knows that this team is on his shoulders now. And we know he could play because he overall, for a quick turnaround performance, wasn't horrible. He wasn't horrible. I think it just took adjusting overall on all of the offense. But let's get into these Fighting Irish. So they will probably have the most success in that ground game against the Wounded Tigers defense. You got senior Ian Book, who led the team to a 6-0 record this year, with 27 team touchdowns and passing for over 1,200 yards. But another key to this Notre Dame offense is going to be that running back, Kyron Williams. He has 600 yards and 7 touchdowns this season. But the Fighting Irish offensive line are going to have to capitalize on Clemson's weaknesses in the defense in order to create holes for Williams to get some great ground yardage. So who or what do you think what do you think are the top 2 must-dos? So Notre Dame has to achieve this in order for their offense to claim today's victory.
Ian Book, being the freshman QB, has to limit mistakes. Still, that Louisville game kind of bothers me. 14-7. Didn't see that coming. But Book has 129 consecutive completions without an interception, while the Tigers are tied 4th nationally with 9 interceptions. So it's going to be a battle there. Clemson has a more explosive offense. So as I spoke earlier, that Notre Dame may not be explosive, but they're very productive. So they need to keep the ball as much as they can. Feed their running back. And Notre Dame should really use that ground and pound into a general. To use that ground and pound to pound into a injured, riddled Tigers defense. Keep that explosive offense off the field. Feed Kyron Williams, and I feel like he's going to have a very productive day. DJ, I'm still not all in just yet. I see the talent, but I still need to see a little bit more before I can fully guarantee that I'm going with the Clemson.
I think that's a respectable answer, especially to see a little bit more. We haven't seen much of him, so to see a little bit more, I think I would agree with that. All right, Tevin, what are you thinking?
For me, with Notre Dame, it's just they're going to have to not go fast, but keep that Clemson defense on the field. And what I mean about that is they're going to have to sustain drives. Make sure you can wear out that Clemson defense and keep that running game, keep pounding the ball, because what I look at Clemson, if they're going to get 3 and outs, but at the same time, I don't know if Notre Dame can score at a consistent rate. And with Notre Dame, I just look at them as the same old Notre Dame. But hey, things might change tonight, and I think Notre Dame might show us that they can compete. They're here. This is their year. And the
Okay.
coaches, I know Brian Kelly. I know he did some changes, and he changed his way how he coached, and he brought some new coaches and things like this. So hopefully that might play a factor, but we'll see. We'll just have to see. And with Clemson, it's going. I want to say they should they should open up the offense a little bit more with the freshman quarterback. I know he's a freshman. Freshman's gonna make mistakes at the same time. Just let him do a little bit more, since this is only his week 2 starting.
All right. Got you. So I think I kind of feel like I have an idea of who you guys are picking, but just so that we have it on record. SK, who do you have to win the game?
With the injuries to the defense and the young QB playing in South Bend, I'm fighting with the Irish on this one, and I'm going 27-23.
Tie game. Tevin.
I'm riding with the young quarterback, young Big Cinco. I'm riding with him, even though it's gonna be a tough game in Notre Dame, but I'm riding with Clemson.
I think Uiagalelei could possibly do something. Clemson still has an established team with an established offense that can, shows promise. So I'm gonna say Clemson. For today, we'll see if I regret that later. All right, guys. So we have gotten through this game breakdown. So you already know what time it is. That's right. It's rapid fire. Last week, SK and Hayden sat at the top of the leaderboard going 14-17. Tevin and I were tied for second with 12-17. And Parker came in last with 11. Too bad Parker is not here because I promised I would have him singing. I promised I would challenge him to sing this week. But now that we have another opportunity to get this right, let's go ahead and get into these games. So at noon Eastern time, we have number 23, University of Michigan versus number 13, Indiana. SK, who are you taking?
This is the most 2020 thing yet. Upset special. I never thought I would ever say that Michigan beating Hoosiers in football would be an upset, but I'm going with, I don't even know if I can call them Big Blue right now. I'm going with Little Blue in Michigan.
Okay. Kevin.
Michigan. With Michigan, they shocked me last week losing to Michigan State. I wasn't expecting it, but hey, we are in 2020 in the pandemic, so I'm gonna go with the Big Blue.
Oh my goodness! I was just about to say I don't know if I could take too many turnarounds. It has been a lot. I am still gonna stay true and go Indiana. I think it would be a close game. I would rather not see an upset so early in the day. Let's try to make it past 3 first. But yeah, let's go to the next one, which is at 3:30. We got West Virginia versus the Texas Longhorns.
I got West Virginia. Letty Brown is one of the best running backs in the nation that nobody speaks of. So I'm going Mountaineers and Letty to have a big game.
Okay.
I'm gonna follow up with SK with this one. I'm gonna go with West Virginia. I want to pick Texas, but Texas is up and down for me. I'm going West Virginia.
Okay. So I see we're just going to, keep it the same trend as this last game. I mean, both of these teams are coming in hot right now, 4-2. But I'm going to say Texas. We're going to keep it at that because, we're going to keep it at that to try to maybe we'll break this trend with this next matchup because we have Kansas versus number 19, Oklahoma. SK, go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to break this trend. Kansas, they still the Jayhawks. Oklahoma.
All right, Tevin, who are you thinking?
I'm going to go with not Kansas at all. Oklahoma. I think Spencer Rattler's finally settling in, and he's looking like himself, and I think he's actually showing us what the Oklahoma offense should look like. So I'm going with Oklahoma.
Okay. I do have a bravery. I have the bravery to pick an upset, but I'm not choosing it for this game. So of course we're gonna go with Oklahoma. So unanimous vote there. But what about Houston versus number 6 Cincinnati? Tevin, what do you think?
Ooh, Houston and Cincinnati. I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. I like Luke Fickle. He's a good coach.
Okay, SK, and I think you covered this game. What about you?
Yeah, I'll be traveling to cover the game after the show. I've been on the UC bandwagon all year. Luke Fickell, that running game's been stepping up. That quarterback had a huge game against Memphis last year. I see no reason the Kings of the AAC continue to roll. I'm going with UC.
Okay. I think Cincinnati's defense, I've been sticking with them actually for the majority of this year. They haven't done me wrong, and so I'm going to keep going with Cincinnati's defense and say they win. At 4, we have number 14 Oklahoma versus Kansas State.
I feel like Oklahoma State bounces back after a loss that might possibly have crashed their playoff hopes. But Kansas State, while they kind of had a good start to the season, feel like they're kind of getting exposed in these past few games, and I'm going with Okie.
Yes, I agree. I'm going. Hopefully, Oklahoma State can bounce back. Truba Herbert's gonna have a huge day on the ground today. Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I'm going to say the Cowboys need redemption, so I'm going to go Oklahoma State. Also for Chuby and also for my guy Christian Holmes, aka Sit. I think that defense could do what they need to do for against Kansas State. So at 7, we have number 7 Texas A&M at South Carolina. SK,
I feel like
what would you say?
South Carolina, while they've played the big boys tough here and there, I'm still going with the 12th man. Texas A&M is finally seeming like they're the team that they envisioned to be when they first brought over Jimbo from Florida State. So 12th man prevails in this one.
Tevin.
When I first seen that Jimbo was going to Texas A&M, and they paid him, they gave him a 10-year deal, $75 million,
I'm trying to get a dollar.
or $50 million, however. And I was thinking, really, is he worth that much? He hasn't. I mean, he's been at Florida State 10 years and only won one national championship. And I was like, man, he's overrated. But I'm hopping on Jimbo Fisher's bandwagon. I'm going with Texas A&M. He's got to turn it around this year.
Okay. I think we're all on the same page for this one. I think college is going to go up. And I think Texas A&M is hungry right now, so I'm going to say them. Now we got Baylor and number 17, Iowa State.
I feel like Iowa State has low-key had a solid season. I mean, as they battle for the Big 12 title, nobody's really talking about them. They have a very, very productive offense, solid defense. Just don't think Baylor has enough. I'm going with the Cyclones on this one.
Okay. I think I'm going to take the Cyclones on this one, too. Tevin, are you going to be an oddball or who you choose?
Nah, I fell off the Iowa State when they first lost their first game. I was like, oh, wow, really? But, hey, I'm sticking with the Cyclones.
Okay. All right, at 7:30 tonight, we have Rutgers at number 3, Ohio State. SK, I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead and say it.
OHIO. It's not even close. Stop playing with me. You know, Justin Fields and Ohio State, what they go do? They go put up numbers, and Rutgers ain't go put up numbers. Not even close. O State.
Not even close. So you claiming that it's a blowout?
Blowout.
Okay. I'm going with Iowa State too. Goodness. Man, maybe I'm over here trying to spell it like you, but I'm trying to say it as a word too at the same time. I don't know. Tevin, who are you picking today?
Shout out. Remember I said this before the season ended. Justin Fields, Heisman winner, Ohio State.
I can go with that too. Actually, if Fields plays out the season, the question I do want to ask, since Lawrence is out a couple games, but it's a condensed season as well. Do you still feel like Lawrence can come back and get in that Heisman race, or is it over because of missing those 2 games?
I think that is one. We talked about this on our kickoff shows on our NFL kickoff shows that we have every Sunday. So guys, make sure you tune into that. But Coach Hugh Jackson brought this up. This is something I think about too. We don't know how COVID can impact somebody's body, and I think that's something to keep in mind. Naturally, we want him, and I think even I could go as far as to say we expect him to come back and be full and everything like that, be on his A game. But at the end of the day, this does need to be taken with safety and precaution, especially with his future on the line and that question of if he wants to come back or not. So if he does come back, I think that, of course, he'll be able to, put that gas all the way in and be able to take that Heisman. But at the end of the day, Justin Fields right now has all the opportunities to show that he can have it too. So I think we still got to tread lightly for Trevor Lawrence's return. But I still think Fields has every opportunity and has every ability to take the Heisman.
Okay. I just feel like Travis Etienne can maybe take away a few votes from Trevor, especially today if they win. And he has a huge game. Last week he had a huge game. And, without Trevor, maybe he's more of the engine that runs the team. Of course, Trevor's a superstar, generational quarterback. I just feel like missing these games and having Travis have those big games, you kind of look like Trevor. Maybe it wasn't you all the way. Maybe it was Travis. Maybe he takes away some of your votes. And then, you got Justin Fields out there. You got Alabama's quarterback out there. So there's just something to watch with Travis. I mean, not Travis, with Trevor not playing last week, this week, and we don't know about next week still either.
Tevin, do you have any thoughts on it?
I do. I don't know if it affect him a little bit with the Heisman because with the ACC and the Big Ten, I want to say the Big Ten is only playing 8 games.
Eight games, 9 I think got the Big 12. The Big 10 conference game.
And so I think it really goes hand in hand. I mean, with the schedule, yes, Trevor Lawrence missing 2 games. It's going to be a slight edge. I think it's going to come down to the end of the season, though. End of the season performance, but at the same time, both of these 2 quarterbacks are great quarterbacks, and I just give my little slight edge if I had a vote to Justin Fields because I think he's a better athlete at the quarterback position when it comes between the 2. Yes, Trevor Lawrence has the height, stature, and things like that. But as far as being a better athlete at the quarterback position, I think Justin Fields slight edge over that. I think I give it to him. He has a slight edge because he's the better athlete. He can make more plays with his feet and as well throwing the ball.
Okay, noted. All right. I think we've wrapped that up for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in to In the Huddle with Hayden. We so appreciate you all. And In the Huddle with Hayden was brought to you by Grand Lighthouse Coffee. So make sure you go ahead to grandlighthousecoffee.com. Use our promo code EastWest to get 10% off your order. I'm pretty sure you'll need it with all these games and possible upsets in 2020 just being what it is. So go ahead and get you some coffee. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Later.